Nowadays, even doing something as simple as moving a wiper arm on a vehicle requires a recalibration. One example is on this Ford Focus behind me. After you do any of that sort of work, you do need to perform a recalibration. So let's walk through how to do it. All right, so that's inside the body control module. So we'll scroll down a little bit till we get to body. And there's body control module there. It's a functional test, so we'll go in there. And if we go all the way down to the bottom, we see wiper motor module calibration. So it says this procedure places the wiper motor module in calibration mode. Perform this procedure if the wiper arms have been removed and reinstalled. So anytime you need to remove those arms, maybe you need to do work under the cowl, something of that nature, or just replacing the arms in general, this needs to be done. So we'll hit continue. Before performing this procedure, make sure all the following operations are complete. The windshield wipers have been installed correctly according to manufacturer's specifications. They have. The battery has sufficient charge. A low battery voltage may prevent the body control module from entering calibration mode. We're good there. And the windshield needs to be clean and dry. All good there. Ensure the ignition is switched on and engine not running. Also good. It says wiper motor module is in calibration mode. Press the wiper washer switch down 3 times within 5 seconds. The wipers will swipe upwards to a pre-initialization position and stop. So let's do that. There we go. Now they're in a pre-initialized condition. Now it says gently pull both wipers out towards the A-pillar molding until the distance between the wiper arm where the wiper blade is mounted and the edge of the windshield is 50 millimeters. Got my little tape measure here. And 50 millimeters is just shy of 2 inches. And as you can see, that sets it pretty much to the max of travel, right to the edge of the windshield there. So that's what we're trying to calibrate. Tell the computer where max is, because there is no linkage on this, their individual wiper motors. Once that's done, press the wiper switch down 1 time, and that'll set the current windshield wiper arm position as the approved position, and the wiper arms will move back to the park position. So let's do that. 1 time, and there they go, down to the park position. So it says, note, if the wiper arms are pulled closer to the A-pillar than the specified distance during this step, do not attempt to move the wiper arms back towards the pre-initialization position. If this is attempted, the wiper motor could be damaged. Pre-initialization can be reset by first selecting the intermittent on the wiper washer switch and then selecting off, and that'll reset it. Once we're done, we're done. So procedure is complete. Wiper motor module is now in normal mode. They wanted to carry out a low-speed wiper test to make sure the windscreen wiper motors and arms park in the correct position, and then carry out a high-speed wiper test and a wet windscreen to make sure the wiper blades do not touch the A-pillar. So all set and calibrated. Hello everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining our diagnostic training session today. If you have any questions throughout the session, if you're joining us on Zoom, just look at the top of the bottom of your screen. Wherever your Zoom controls are, you should see a little button that says Q&A. Click on that, type in your question, and I'll get to those at the end of the session. If you're watching along on YouTube, feel free to use the live chat function as we go along, and I'll answer those at the end as well. So my name is Jason Gabrinas. I'm one of Snap-on's National Diagnostic Technical Trainers. Been in the training department the last, 12 years or so, traveling around North America, helping techs and shop owners get the most out of their diagnostic equipment. Before I did that, it was a couple of years as a diagnostic sales rep with Snap-on, so I had about 30 different franchisees I worked with, as well as the shops that they serviced in order to help everyone get the most out of their diagnostic needs. Then before I did that, it was 8 years at Subaru, so worked in a dealership, and then just over time became that default diag guy in the shop. So I always ended up with the drivability problems, the intermittent problems, the weird wiring problems that would show up on those cars. And that's really where I cut my diagnostic teeth, was trying to figure out all those weird head scratcher type cars that would come into my bay. And before that, a bunch of other miscellaneous wrenching jobs. It's been about 30 years under hood experience for me. So our topic at hand today is going to be vehicle maintenance functions. We're going to talk about the different things you may need a scan tool for in a modern vehicle when it comes to maintenance. Things like oil reminder resets, right? I remember when those first came along and vehicles started having those, you're like, oh my goodness, what do I do? Because I need a scan tool now. So that was an interesting time, and now it's fairly common. Some vehicles you do it, on the navigation system or whatever like that. But in the case we're going to talk through is going to be scan tool related. Parking brake into service mode and out of service mode, because it's you need to retract the calipers or retract the parking brake part of the caliper to put it in service mode in order to change the pads on many vehicles. Battery reset, I replaced the battery. We have alternators that can change their output based on battery wear and life. So you need to reset a battery, even just a 12-volt battery. I talk a lot about EVs and hybrids, but I'm just talking the 12-volt battery. TPMS reset, that's maintenance item. If I do a tire rotation, I need to reset, relearn where the tires are on the vehicle. And then DPF regen too. That's something that should be going on while it's normally driving, but sometimes you do need to do a service regen on there. So those are the topics we're going to discuss here. So oil change functions. I also will mention that it is very important to make sure you have current, up-to-date information when it comes to oil capacities. Even the little book hanging off the rack isn't necessarily going to cut it anymore. Because if we look at these two different vehicles, 2013 Chevy truck and a 2014 Chevy truck, the 2013 takes 530 oil, 6 quarts of it, and then the 14 takes 020, 8.5 quarts of it. So that's a 1-year model year change, same engine. So you might think, oh, well, it's 5.3 takes 6 quarts of 5W30. Well, not that one. That one does not. So it's 8.5 quarts, it says, but actually it was revised down to 8 quarts, judging by a bulletin from GM. So they said, oh no, 8.5 is too much. Now we got to revise it back to 8. So this stuff happens all the time. So having that current information, like if you have maintenance functions on your scan tool, like the quick lookups on Snap-on tools over here in North America, but that will give you the proper information, right? So there's my 6 quarts on my 2013, and then my 8 quarts on my 2014. The 4.3 still takes 6 quarts, but the 5.3 takes 8 quarts. And it says the engine oil capacity has been updated from 8.5 quarts to 8 quarts in reference to GM's document ID this. And it's a PIP that they wrote on that. So most vehicles nowadays, it's probably 0.30, 0.20, something like that. I think I even saw 0.10 in the store the other day. Pretty much just run on 0 oil. Right? Anyways, it's mainly for the variable valve timing system, right? So because it's all hydraulically operated. There's a lot of few other things that work hydraulically on the engine. So we got to make sure that it's properly filled and not overfilled and not underfilled, and proper weight. All right, so here's another example. So on the Silverado here, how to reset it. So this is reset the system whenever it's changed. The system can calculate the next engine oil change. So you can do it in the driver information center. There's also a function in some GMs where you have to go into the scan tool. So service interval reset here. So it sets it basically back to 100%. You can scroll it in 2% increments if you want to have it other than 100%. I don't know why you would after an oil change, but maybe, oh, I forgot to reset it and it's been 100 miles or something like that. So it automatically sets it back to 100%. I can go plus and minus to go up and down with that. Also tire functions. So the thing about TPMS is every manufacturer is pretty much different. Even in the same manufacturer can have different procedures, multiple different procedures. So in this case, this is GMC Acadia, and that is procedure number 11, it says, in order to do this. And you have to take all these steps to do that. And you still have to use an activator, like a TPMS tool, in order to do that. On the BMW, it's by start the engine but do not drive off and do a tire inflation pressure reset, and then drive, and then it's just going to drive the vehicle down the road. So you actually do that in iDrive within the vehicle's computer itself. The driver can do it. And then on this 18 Ram, well, it doesn't have anything listed for a functional reset, but there is a reset that is available inside the scan tool. So this is behind Security Link. And then program, left, right, left rear, right rear, and then spare tire sensor IDs. So you would go in there, and in this case, I picked the first one, left front tire. Here's the current ID. Make sure you have the 8-character sensor ID available. It can be found on the sensor tire sensor label itself. Print it on the tire sensor. I'd go in here, hit edit, type in whatever the new value is, hit OK. And it's going to come in here and confirm, hit continue, and then it's done. Programming successful. On a Nissan for years and years and years, it was really, we had 2 ways to do it. You do it with a tool, you use a scan tool, and then you go around all the different tires. Or alternatively, you could set different tire pressures, and then the vehicle would know, well, when it sees this pressure on this corner, then that's the wheel it's got. So that's with the tool or without the tool. So with the tool would be using, say, like a TPMS 5 or a TPMS 6 that just came out, or a TPMS 4. Any of those tools would be able to, it's got the little antenna on it, be able to trigger those sensors, no problem for you. Alternatively, tire pressure transmitter IDs without the use of the tool. So if a new sensor is installed, you have to use the tool, but if you're just rotating the tires, you do not, is what it explains here. Only works with existing sensors. So adjust the pressures accordingly. In this case, it's going to tell you specifically. So left front's 34, right front's 31, 29, and 26. And then you're going to go through the procedure and then select continue to start the test, and then drive the vehicle 5 to 15 minutes until test completed is displayed. Vehicle must be driven, and then the TPMS light will go out. Once it's done, reinflate the tires to the proper pressure, and you're good to go. Battery functions. Like I said, if I replace a 12-volt battery, we're not even talking EV batteries or hybrid batteries. Some manufacturers do use a battery management system. Lots of manufacturers nowadays use a battery management system. It uses sensors, controllers, and software to monitor the battery's state of charge. It allows the vehicle to charge the battery depending on load and state of health. So like I said, they have these variable voltage alternators or variable output alternators now that can go 17 volts, what have you. And it just varies the voltage depending on the state of charge and the state of health of the battery. When a battery is replaced, the system needs to be reset, usually with a scan tool, because over time it will learn the condition of that battery and just make judgments based on that. So you need to tell the vehicle, hey, I changed the battery. So in this case, I'm in a 2016 Audi, and there's a under battery regulation. There's a coding and configuration function where you can read the current code off what's in there. There's a configuration list in there, and there's also programming a new code in there. So if I wanted to do that, write down the current code before you program a new code. Allows you to re-enter it if you screw it up. Continue. There's the code. And then there's also parameters that can be changed as well. So battery parameterization when battery replaced. It's going to parameterize the battery regulation. So you put in the capacity of the battery, serial number, etc. Hit program, and then it's good. Now, brake functions. This is very, very common nowadays. I don't know many manufacturers who don't have electronic parking brakes anymore. But there is a service reset and relearn menu on many Snap-on tools as well. It's a 2015 Kia Optima in this case. And there is a function in there under maintenance for replace disc brake pads. Now, this quick menu, if you have a tool with this quick menu on there, it allows you to go through any of the functional tests that are available on the vehicle, and it is sorted out by job, right? So replace an evap purge solenoid if there's a functional test or a bidirectional control that needs to be done, or a reset or a relearn. Replace fuel injector, et cetera, et cetera. But in this case, we'll go to replace disc brake pads on a 2015 Kia Optima. It's going to give me some information here. If there's any TSBs, it'll show it there as well. Functional resets and calibrations are here. And then we can see all the different actuations, or actually the pad change mode as well. So actuator control release. So that just physically turns it on, physically applies it just to make sure it's working. And then there's maintenance mode, inline mode. But in this case, we want pad change mode. So there's before change and after change. So if I go in before changing the brake pads, this function should be performed. This will allow you to push the piston into the caliper by retracting the spindle nut with the actuator. So inside these calipers, there's going to be a screw actuator type thing, and it's going to cycle that back. You still have to push in the caliper in most cases. It doesn't necessarily just pull it all the way in. Depends on the caliper design, I guess. But and then change the pad. So execute before pad change the pads, execute pad change mode after pad change. While the pad change mode is in progress, it will set a code and test messages displayed at cluster. So engine off, ignition on, correctly operating parking brake, cluster, etc. All these modules need to be working properly. Released parking brake and brake pedal and parking brake switch while ignition is on. So make sure you don't touch anything, don't apply it. Then you change your pads. Then you go back in here after change. It engages a parking brake after the pads are replaced. Do not use this function while the brake pads are being replaced. You pinch your finger. Please be sure to take general safety precautions before activating this function. Also, if it's not if it doesn't have the rotor in the middle of it, it could cause damage to the caliper. So we don't want to do that either. So go through there, hit continue. Engine off, ignition on, etc. Keep stepping on the brake until the motor stops and the whole process is finished. So we need to step on the brake and press OK, and then keep stepping on the brake, and then it'll go through the function, and then it'll be done. All right, and diesel functions. Like I said, the after treatment on these, and some people say the easiest way to do it is just to delete it. Sure, fair, but that's not what we're into over here. We're into, it is a stock vehicle, roughly stock vehicle, and it needs some maintenance done. So there's the oxidation catalyst, the DPF, exhaust temp sensors, DPF back pressure sensor, hydrocarbon dosing valve. Some of these things also have resets and relearns necessary, but they're not really maintenance items, so I wouldn't really count them. But that DPF certainly could be a maintenance item. So diesel particulate filters, its job is to catch the soot, store the soot, burn the soot. Catch the soot, store the soot, burn the soot as you're driving down the road. So it's kind of like a honeycomb with an every other hole open or closed. So these are the closed ones. These are the open ones. The soot goes in the open ones and then gets stored inside there, and then out the back is one of the closed ones. So soot doesn't get in there, so it has a passageway to get through. Over time, though, they may get clogged, totally clogged in this case. So that's just clogged. The whole thing's just coming out the front. It's no good. That one would need to be replaced. But it also, the vehicle would have warned the driver, or should have warned the driver, before it ever got to this point. So if it ever gets to this point, they were warned. Some vehicles won't even allow you to regen when it gets that bad. It's like, nope, it's too clogged. It's full of soot. Not going to allow you to regen it. You got to replace it. And it'll throw a code for it. So as far as a passive regen is going to be when the DPF temps are high enough to burn the soot automatically by itself without needing to add any extra fuel to it or anything. It's just under high load situations like towing, going up a hill, something like that. Active regen can be initiated by the PCM or by a scan tool. And what that's going to do is it's going to turn on the an injector. It's going to inject additional diesel fuel into the exhaust to raise the DPF temperature to approximately 1,025 degrees Fahrenheit. And there can be a parked regen done as well, which could be initiated by a dashboard switch, or it could be initiated by a scan tool as well. Used when attempts at active regens fail, or when it just gets to a point where you can't do it. So we'll see can see an example of that here. All right, so let's go live on the tool, look at some examples of some other stuff that we have. I'm not going to rehash the ones we just talked about. Got a couple other things I want to talk about. So we got this 2016 Focus here. Activate that. Go into my scanner. And in the case of the 2016 Ford Focus, if you were here at the very beginning and saw the pre-roll video, you know what I'm talking about. But on this vehicle, it has individual wiper motors and the wiper arms that go like this, right? They cross in the middle and then they go out like that. There's no linkage, they're individual motors. So when you do any work with a wiper arm, you have to go in the body control module. Under functional tests, there is a wiper motor module calibration. So this needs to be done anytime I do work on the wipers. Blades, you can probably get away with just blades, but in order to replace them, you kind of need to get them up and out of the way anyways, because they are down there a little bit. There are some vehicles that you have to do a functional test in order to get them up from underneath the cowl. You can't even reach them. In this case, they're kind of okay, but I think you'd probably be better off just to open it up anyways. But wiper motor module calibration. Places the wiper motor module in calibration mode. Perform this procedure if the wiper arms have been removed and installed. Before performing this procedure, please make sure the following operations are complete. The windshield wipers have been installed correctly according to manufacturer specifications. Battery has sufficient charge. A low battery voltage may prevent this from happening. And the windshield is clean and dry. Sure, ignition is switched on, engine not running. And now it's in calibration mode. So then what you have to do after it's in calibration mode, then you're going to press the wiper washer switch down 3 times within 5 seconds. So just like that. The wipers will swipe upwards to a pre-initialization position and stop. Gently pull both wipers out towards the A-pillar molding until the distance between the wiper arm where the wiper blade is mounted and the edge of the windshield is 50 millimeters. Press the wiper washer switch down 1 time after that's done, and then they'll go back down. This sets the current windshield wiper arm position as the approved position, and the wiper arms move back to the park position. Note if the wiper arms are pulled closer to the A-pillar in specified distance during the step, do not attempt to move the wiper arms back. You could damage the motor. Pre-initialization can be reset by first selecting intermittent on the wiper washer switch and then selecting off, and it'll just restart. Okay, it'll go through, and then once you're done, you hit continue again, and then it says the procedure is now complete. It puts it back in normal mode. I want you to do a couple tests, low-speed wiper test, high-speed wiper test with wet, and just make sure that everything works the way it should. Easy enough, but you do need a metric measuring tape. Also in this, this does have a battery management system as well. So we talked about recoding the battery. You don't have to do that, but there is a reset for this because, let's see if it describes it in here. Perform this following if the battery is replaced. Actually, yeah, you do have to do it. Well, it's just a quick reset. It's not a coding. That's what I was trying to say. Like on that Audi I showed you, I had to actually do coding. In this case, it's just doing a reset. So resets the battery management system. Do it when the battery is replaced. Body control module is replaced, or if you're instructed by the workshop manual. So the battery management system on this, and it's not going to let me do it because I'm in sim mode, but on the battery management system on Fords anyways, after a certain amount of time and the battery gets to a certain voltage, low enough voltage, it starts turning things off in the vehicle. So say you're sitting in the driveway cleaning the vehicle, it's not running, but you got the radio on or whatever, all of a sudden the radio will shut off and it'll start powering down modules to save battery. So that's part of the battery management system. So you go in there and you can go and reset it. And you're good to go. All right. This one also has a TPMS training mode with and without scanner as well. So that's kind of interesting. All right. So that is that. So let's go into this BMW. And in the case of the BMW, I'm just going to go into engine here. And you can go in codes, data, functional tests, special functions. And then there's some adaptation values in here, like injector coding. Well, I guess that's really not maintenance, but battery replacement for sure. Cooling system ventilation, that's for if I need to bleed the cooling system after I do a refill. A lot of vehicles like that nowadays, you have to vacuum fill them and do a bleed. So that's fun. Let's see if it says that here. No fault code. Okay, well, I guess I can't do that then. Venting of the cooling system. Perform the following steps in specified order to start the bleeding procedure for the engine cooling system. The bleeding procedure takes about 12 minutes, therefore make sure the charger is connected. Switch on the ignition, switch on low beam headlights, which prevents the vehicle from going to sleep. Both temperature selectors set to maximum. Press auto button of the air conditioning system, blower output to minimum. And don't switch it off completely because it needs to be running. Fully depress the accelerator pedal for 10 seconds. Do not start the engine. Bleeding of the cooling system is not activated. It will activate after that. So it'll take 12 minutes, and then you can hit cancel to terminate. So we're going to hit cancel to terminate, maybe. Switch ignition. Bleeding procedure terminated. You wish to repeat it? No, I don't want to. I hit continue too many times. Exit. There we go. All right. Vanos valves. Those are for the variable valve system on there. Vanos timing chain test. Valvetronic limit learn. So those could all be related to oil. If you think about it. And startup Valvetronic there. Got that too. It's injector coating. Like I said, not really maintenance. But let's see what else we got. Let's see what else has got listed on the service menu. So service resets. Wheel alignment. Replace battery. Replace disc brake pads. So that's got it too. Engine coolant. Brake caliper. Automatic transmission fluid. There's probably some sort of a reset or relearn for that. Let's see. Might not show me in here. Oil balancing. So let's see. Oil level in the automatic gearbox can only be adjusted when following conditions are met. And since we don't have those conditions, I bet just not going to let me do it. Oil level check. Mechatronics or converters been replaced. Parts have been replaced. So any of those reasons. There's vehicle, apply the parking brake, start the engine. And then it's not going to do it because it's going to think it's too hot. So there we go. Very hot. 730 degrees Celsius. All right. So a lot of different things you might need to do there. Reset fuel trims after you do a tune-up. It's probably a good idea. Something like that. And then I got one more for you. Actually, no, let me do two more. Let me do pull a Ford, actually. Let's do this F-350. I talked about regens. So the F-Series. It's under engine. And then functional tests, special functions, DPF, static regen, or dynamic regen. So you can do a dynamic regen, which would be driving down the road, like we said, and then a static regen where you are in the parking lot, so to say. Let's just clear specified function. Clear stuff. Okay, so DPF static regen. Commanded DPF regeneration. A manual DPF regeneration may take up to 1 hour to complete. For static regen, the test will increase the engine speed to high RPM for an extended period of time. For dynamic regen, the test will require the vehicle to be in motion for the duration of the regen. Warning, always perform the DPF manual regeneration process outside the exhaust system. Adjacent components and exhaust outlet temperature are very hot during this procedure, which increases the risk of personal injury. Keep people and combustible materials away from the hot exhaust system. Yes. 1,000 degrees out the back. And a bunch of hot soot coming out. Confirmation of conditions and warnings when running. Do you want to make sure that you confirm the conditions and warnings? Yes, for being double safe. Turn the ignition on, and then it would do it. So soot load gets calculated. 50 to 99% is partially. 100 to 120% is fully. 121 to 199 is overloaded. Above 200% is considered clogged. So this is in the simulator, it's very clogged. So it's not going to allow it. Percentage of soot load is higher than the maximum limit to perform DPF regen. Prevent dangerous overheating of the diesel particulate filter. The DPF regeneration has been disabled. Okay. So that's a regen. And there's one more I wanted to talk about. It's just going to be this 2024 Audi. So 2024 Audi. Newer Audi and Volkswagen vehicle. They have security on them. So secured access. They call them SFD tokens. So secure function something. So I think secure function diagnostics, I think is what it stands for. I could be wrong. But regardless, those are the key codes to unlock an Audi or a Volkswagen, a modern one. However, they do it differently than you might suspect, like for Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, it locks out the whole vehicle, and you have to unlock it before you can even go in and access anything. Now, in this example, you didn't see any security. If I wanted to go into engine, and then I need to pick my engine variant, you'll see some systems may require access to manufacturer secured diagnostic requests. So if I want to, I can go in here under codes, and I can read codes. Do not replace components based on fault code alone. That's a good thing. Clear codes, I can do that too. So they don't care. Can read data. But when I get to functional tests, however, and I go into special functions, see how you've got a security link shows up. And then you need to enter your personal access code. So I'm going to put the wrong one in first and show you what happens. It's going to say, nope, wrong. 4 attempts remaining. So you get 5 attempts to enter it correctly. So I hope I get it right. But this is linked in your Snap-on account. So as long as you have these 4 numbers in where it says profile access code in your Snap-on profile, all it's got to do is match whatever's up on your profile. So it can be any 4 digits, doesn't matter. This is just their requirement that we implemented to do that. So I think it is looking promising. Okay, it's going to give me an error anyways because it's in sim mode, but it got me in anyways. And I can go to my settings menu and then come in here Some of these functions will require engine to be running or engine off, ignition, and may or may not require security access. Where known, the scan tool will display the appropriate message and perform the relevant security access procedure. Where this is not the case, you'll need to know the correct procedure and the correct security access code should it be required. So that's the profile access code thing. Okay, go in there and then you would just figure out what you needed to do. So let's see, there's a big long list, and a real car probably wouldn't have all this anyways. It's probably just one. It's everything available on an Audi. Reset adaptation values. Catalytic converter test, that's pretty nice. Cam adjustment tests, if I do any sort of stuff with that, with the engine, that's not really maintenance either, I guess. Clutch engagement, transmission neutral position, mixture adaptation, yeah, you might need to do that after a tune-up. Regen the EGR cooler. Initial fuel filling function, automatic test sequence. Let's see. Test of cylinder individual mixture deviation. So that might be for a tune-up or something like that. So lots of different things, but I just wanted to make you aware of that on newer Volkswagens and Audis. I think it's starting around 2020s. They started phasing it in. Other aftermarket scan tool manufacturers charge for this. We include it at no additional cost other than just whatever your software is. So if you're on subscription, it's just whatever your subscription payment is. If you do a one-time update, it's however much you pay for your one-time update, included in the software. We basically just eat that cost for you. So good to know that that is a thing that's available, and we implemented it probably over a year now ago. I think maybe a year and a half ago even. We implemented that. So be aware that you may need to do that. Any of the other vehicles with security access, you'd still need to do that as well. But I just figured that was a unique, it's a unique way that Volkswagen and Audi do things. So that is vehicle maintenance functions. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about next week. And next week, we are going back to our ADAS, OEM-specific ADAS training on Nissan this time. So we'll talk all about, well, ProPilot Assist is going to be one thing we're going to talk about. And kind of the sum of their ADAS components works out to be that. So same time, same place as always. Session 1 is at 6. Session 2 is at 9 Eastern time. If you want to join on Zoom, you go to snapon.com/OT and register there. Otherwise, the 6 p.m. Eastern class goes live to our YouTube channel. So it's youtube.com/Snap-on Diagnostics right there. You can scan that QR code. It'll bring you there and subscribe you. Please make sure you like and subscribe. And then 9 p.m. Eastern goes live to our Facebook page, which is going to be Snap-on Diagnostics training and equipment. So you can go check us out over there as well. Give us a follow. You want to see any of the other classes in this series from intro to ADAS through, well, these vehicle maintenance functions, diesel maintenance functions, etc. It's all going to be in here. Thermal imaging, different components, testing, chassis electronics, so all sorts of different things that you will be able to check out. So once again, they're all free. They're all roughly half hour, 40 minutes long. Kind of depends on what we're talking about, but roughly the same format as this. So you watch a couple more and learn. There's 120 episodes, actually. I need to update this slide. So that's about 60 hours or more worth of content for you to watch. So good stuff. Also, do we have your email address? If we don't have your email address, you may be missing out on some important information like technical focus articles, SureTrack blogs, quick tips, new product releases. They send out my training schedule periodically, I think, maybe once a month. So we're not going to spam you 5 times a day like I see some companies spam me like 5-6 times a day. Here's an example of a technical focus article on timing chains, and here's another one talking about a SureTrack blog article. So if you want to sign up for the emails that will be coming out, scan that QR code. It'll bring you to a little form you can fill out, and then we will allow you to do that. Now time for questions. If you do have a question on Zoom, just find that Q&A button top or bottom of the screen, wherever you can see that, and type away, ask your question on Zoom, or YouTube. Sorry, been a long day. On YouTube, I see there's a few up there. So Hussein says hello. Thank you. Jaylee Lobo says hello. Always great info. Thank you. Hello, Nick from England, who always joins. Thank you very much. Let's see. Thank you for providing free training. That's a really good question, Mike. And I've never gotten that question before. And as far as I know, no, it does not. But that seems like something that might be good to implement. So Mike on YouTube asks, when performing resets, does Zeus Plus save the reset confirmation or timestamp in the vehicle history? And can that be exported for shop records? So at this time, no. But I will say ADOS resets, it does. It has a ADOS report that you can generate that has timestamps. Date stamp, timestamp too. Yeah, it has a timestamp on it too, as to when you did it, and then you can fill out any of the particulars you need to do. So that's for ADOS only, though, not for like oil maintenance reset or battery reset or anything like that. So that is a really good question, and I'm going to run that by the team, see if that's something they can put in there. I never really thought about that, but that could be really good for record keeping, I would think, and CYA type of thing too. So not bad. Thanks for that. He has another question. So does Zeus Plus perform the same background actions as OEM tools during a reset, or are there cases where the reset is partial compared to dealer software? No, they're going to be duplicated tests of the manufacturer's tests. Either it's directly licensed from them or built off of OEM standards, I guess you could say, or the OEM information. So no, they don't do any partials. If there is a partial, you need to call somebody because we would need, that would be a glitch and we'd need to get it fixed. So yes, we do run through the whole just as you would find on a factory tool. All right, good questions, Mike. Thanks for that. With that, not seeing any others, so I'll give you another little bit. But with that, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for joining me, and hope you got a little bit of something out of the maintenance minors and resets and all those things. And you're very welcome, Mike. So with that, thank you very much for spending a little bit of time with me. Hopefully we'll see you next week for ADOS on Nissan. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a nice night and take care.